Okay, so you're on the hunt for the perfect cutting board, huh? And it sounds like you're really intrigued by the whole bamboo versus wood debate.
It's classic for a reason.
It really is. And what's great about you coming to us is, we're going to really get into the nitty-gritty of it all.
We're all about those deep dives.
Exactly. And we know sustainability is a big deal for you, which honestly it should be. So we'll definitely be factoring that in as we break it all down.
What's fascinating about this face-off is that it's not really about crowning a single winner.
Oh, I like where you're going with this.
It's more about figuring out what matters most to you in a cutting board. Like, what are your priorities?
Okay, so no declaring Team Bamboo or Team Wood just yet.
Not so fast. We still got to, analyze their strengths and weaknesses, right?
Let's do it.
All right, round one. The Eco Warrior Face-Off.
I love it. So bamboo, it always gets all the hype as being the eco champion, right?
Right.
Grows super fast, often doesn't need pesticides. It almost feels too easy. Is bamboo really that perfect?
Well, it's true that bamboo's renewability is amazing. It can grow so quickly. But there's a but here. We got to think about bamboo's journey to your kitchen.
Ooh, good point. Tell me more.
So a lot of the bamboo we see, it's traveling all the way from Asia. That's a long trip, which means it often has a pretty hefty carbon footprint by the time it reaches us.
It's like they say about food. It's not just what you eat, it's where it came from. But for cutting boards?
Exactly. And as a conscious consumer, you might want to look for a locally sourced bamboo.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Or certifications like the Forest Stewardship Council label, the FSC.
Right.
That label means it's coming from a more sustainable source.
So it's kind of like having a little guarantee, a little stamp of approval right there on your cutting board.
Exactly.
Okay, so bamboo's got some baggage depending on its passport. But what about wood? Don't we have to worry about deforestation and stuff with wood cutting boards? How do we make sure our wood is coming from a good place?
You're spot on. Understanding sourcing is key here. And that FSC label we were talking about, it applies to wood too. So keep an eye out for that on wood cutting boards as well.
Got it.
And especially when we're talking about hardwoods, like your maple or oak.
Yes.
Responsibly sourced hardwoods can be incredibly durable. They can last you a really long time.
And that durability factor, I feel like that's a perfect segue to round two, material matters.
Let's dive in.
Okay, so bamboo. I've heard it's actually harder than some hardwoods. Is that even possible?
It sounds crazy, right? But it's true.
Whoa.
It all comes down to bamboo structure. It's made up of these tightly packed fibers.
Okay.
It's almost like, imagine trying to cut through a really dense bundle of straws.
Oh.
Versus a single piece of wood.
That makes so much more sense now.
Bamboo structure gives it that incredible toughness.
Okay, that's super cool. So it can really take a beating? But I've heard whispers about bamboo being a little too tough on knives. Is there any truth to that?
Yeah, that's the trade-off, right? So while that hardness is amazing for resisting cuts, it can be a bit rough on your blades over time.
Interesting. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, huh?
Exactly.
So maybe bamboo is the tough, slightly abrasive friend, and wood is the gentle giant.
You got it. And hardwoods, especially maple, have this amazing ability to kind of self-heal.
Wait, what? Seriously?
Yes.
Hold on. How does that even work? Does it magically regenerate or something?
It's not magic, but it's pretty close. Think of it this way. Wood is porous, which means it can absorb moisture.
Right.
And when it absorbs moisture, it swills a bit. And those tiny wood fibers, they act like a self-repair crew, slowly filling in those microscopic gaps and cuts.
That is wild. I never knew wood was so high-tech. But, okay, you've got me thinking now. All this talk about self-healing and stuff, it makes me think that maybe one is more high maintenance than the other.
High-tech, huh? It's pretty funny. When it comes to taking care of them, both bamboo and wood cutting boards are way more about good old-fashioned TLC.
Oh, okay, that's good to know. I was worried I was going to have to invest in a whole tiny cutting board spa kit or something.
No spa treatments needed.
Phew!
But they both definitely need some regular attention.
Okay, so what kind of attention are we talking about?
For both of them, oiling is going to be your best friend. It's super important, especially for wood, to keep it from drying out. You really don't want your cutting board to get all dried out and crack, right?
Yeah, absolutely not.
And then the other big one, and this goes for both bamboo and wood, is hand washing.
Okay, so no dishwasher.
Definitely not. I mean, I guess you could, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, it feels kind of wrong,
It's like sending your cutting board to a torture chamber.
Exactly. And speaking of torture chambers, let's talk about bacteria for a sec.
Let's do it.
So we touched on how bamboo and wood both have those, like, antimicrobial superpowers, but how long do those actually last?
That's a great question. And honestly, it's a little more complicated than just like a set time frame.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So those antimicrobial properties are kind of built into the materials.
Huh.
They're inherent, so they don't really disappear.
Okay.
But here's the thing. Every time you use your cutting board, those little knife cuts, they create these microscopic canyons, right? And over time, those canyons can become little hiding spots for bacteria. It doesn't matter what material you're using.
So it's like a constant battle between the good guys, the antimicrobial properties, and the bad guys, the bacteria trying to find a home.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why keeping things clean and oiled up is so important, because that layer of oil, it actually creates a more resistant barrier on the surface of your cutting board.
So it's not just about making it look pretty. It's about, like, reinforcing its defenses.
You got it.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've got to keep those defenses strong. What about those deeper cuts? We were talking earlier about sustainability. Is there a way to deal with those without just tossing out our cutting board and getting a new one?
Totally. And it might surprise you, but even deep cuts, you can often actually sand them out.
Wait, seriously? I can just, like, sand away years of, like, culinary wear and tear?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It definitely takes some effort. A little elbow grease, as they
A
say.
little workout never hurt anyone.
Exactly. But it's honestly a total game changer. It really extends the life of your cutting board, which is good for the planet and your wallet.
I love a good 2-for-1. So how do we actually do it? Like, what kind of sandpaper should we be using?
So you're definitely going to want to make sure you're using the right grit sandpaper. Like, you don't want to go in with something super rough, or you'll end up sanding away more than you bargained for.
Yeah, we don't want to, like, completely reshape our cutting boards.
Exactly. And if it's a wood cutting board, you'll want to follow the grain of the wood as you're sanding.
Right, right. It's all coming back to me now.
And speaking of wood, remember how we were talking earlier about different types of wood cutting boards?
Yeah.
Like end grain versus edge grain?
Oh, yeah, I totally forgot about that. What was the difference again?
So it all comes down to how the wood is constructed. You know how we were visualizing those tightly packed fibers, like straws?
Yep.
So edge grain means you're basically cutting on the side of those straws.
Okay.
But end grain means you're cutting on the surface where all those straws are bundled together.
Ooh. So it's like the difference between chopping on your cutting board vertically versus horizontally.
That's a great way to put it. And that difference in construction, it actually impacts how durable the cutting board is, and even how your knives feel when you're using it.
Interesting. So which one's better?
Well, it depends on what you're looking for. End grain boards, they tend to be more durable overall. And because those fibers are all bundled together, they act like tiny little cushions for your knife.
So they're gentler on the blades.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And bonus, they're also known for those self-healing properties we were talking about earlier.
Right. It's like having a whole team of microscopic woodworkers constantly repairing those tiny cuts.
Exactly. Now, don't get me wrong, edge grain boards have their own perks. They're
Yeah.
usually a bit lighter, and they tend to be less expensive. So if budget is a big concern, they could be a good option. But if you're really looking for maximum durability and you want something that's super knife friendly, end grain is the way to go.
So it's like a trade-off.
Exactly. It always comes down to your own priorities in the kitchen.
I love that. So we've talked a lot about wood, but what about bamboo? Does it have any moments where it really shines, or is wood always going to be the better option?
That's a great question. And you're right to bring it back to bamboo. It's important to remember it's not about declaring one the winner and the other one the loser. They both have their strengths.
Right, right. Okay, so tell me, what are bamboo's strengths?
Right. Okay, so tell me, what are bamboo's strengths?
Well, for one, bamboo is naturally super water resistant, like way more so than wood.
Oh,
And it's also less porous, which means it's less likely to absorb any odors or stains. That can be a big plus if you're working with ingredients that have a strong smell, like garlic or onions. Ooh, that's a really good point. Nobody wants a cutting board that permanently smells like garlic.
yeah, that's real. I do love chopping garlic, but I don't need my cutting board smelling like it for like a week.
Exactly. And if you are worried about bacteria on your bamboo cutting board, you can always give it a quick clean with some hydrogen peroxide.
Oh, that's a good tip. I always forget about hydrogen peroxide. It's like
Mhm.
the ultimate odor and bacteria buster.
Right. And another great thing about bamboo is it's usually a bit easier on the wallet. It's often more affordable than hardwood, especially those fancy end grain ones.
That's true. End green boards can definitely be an investment.
Right. So if you're just starting out or if you want to have a few different cutting boards for different things, bamboo can be a really good option.
It's like having a cutting board wardrobe.
Yep.
You've got your fancy ones for special occasions, and then your everyday, reliable bamboo board.
Exactly. So it's not really about bamboo versus wood. It's more about finding the best one for you and your kitchen. I love that. So bamboo for its affordability, its water resistance, and those odor-fighting superpowers.
And wood for its durability, how gentle it is on your knives, and that impressive self-healing ability.
It's like they each have their own, culinary superpower.
They do. And after we've, geeked out about all the technical stuff, the sustainability, the materials, the maintenance, it's important to remember that at the end of the day, a cutting board, it's more than just a tool.
It's true.
It's a workspace. It's where your culinary creativity comes to life.
I love that. It's about finding a cutting board that inspires you when you're in the kitchen.
Exactly. And that's something only you can decide what feels best in your hand, what works with the way you cook.
It's all about finding that perfect cutting board soulmate.
100%. And it sounds cheesy, but it makes a difference. So no more, cutting board wars, okay?
No more cutting board wars.
Let's appreciate both bamboo and wood for the amazing materials they are.
Yes. To bamboo and wood.
And choose the one that you think you'll love using every time you step into the kitchen.
I love that. It's about making a choice you feel good about, a choice that's going to bring you joy for years to come. And on that note, hey, if you had to pick just one cutting board to rule them all, which would it be, bamboo or wood, and why?
That's a tough one.
I know, right? It's like Sophie's Choice, but for cutting boards. Let us know what you think. Hit us up on social media, send us an email. We want to hear all about your dream cutting board.
And until next time, happy cooking, everyone.
At nourishingtapestry.store we have a large range of bamboo cutting boards. Thanks for watching. Check us out at nourishingtapestry.store. Like, subscribe.